She was one of the greatest actresses in the world and having her roots in Latin cinema before going into Hollywood. An activist for anyone with Alzheimer's in her later life and an icon in her early life. A Hollywood princess and one of the first in the world. Leading female actress with her legacy being talked about even throughout history and even today. Spending over 30 years in Hollywood and taking the world by storm. Working with elite Hollywood actors and actresses of the time, even starring in many hit films. This is the beautiful Rita Hayworth, and this is her basic biography. Early life. Rita Hayworth was born on the 17th of October 1918 in New York City, USA. Her father was from Spain with experience in dancing and music, and her mother was a dancer herself and worked with the Ziegfeld Follies and even was able to star in many various nightclubs. Her parents would both own a nightclub and even raising Rita Hayworth and her other siblings at the same time. She attended schools in the city and had ambitions to become a dancer or an actress when she grew up. She spent time performing at a young age with a chance of working in small productions during the 1920s. Whilst at school, she excelled in her studies and would travel around the world and even be able to have an established dancing career, which she took whilst in studying and sometimes after studying. Traveling to Europe and even around the United States to have herself established as a dancer and even a young dancer at a young age. She spent time in many dance schools just to gain some more education, but even learning how to perform her best on stage, and then later going into Hollywood to become a professional dancer. She managed to learn Spanish dance during her time in education and even spent time in Spain just perfecting the performances. She would star in many movies, but these were small productions before hitting this big score of Hollywood. She was not able to excel in high school or in many other educational subjects in that matter, but only to pursue her career in dance fully. Acting career. She would leave conventional school and even move to Hollywood to get a movie career whilst being a dancer, based on her skills that she was established in her dancing career at a young age. During the late 1920s or to the early 1930s, Rita Hayworth incorporated her dance experience in the silver screen, but not on the stage as she used to do, which people would see around the world. Her first film was Cruz Diablo in 1934, playing as a supporting character or supporting actress with Hispanic or Latin background. And even the film was originally in Spanish and not in English. She would later get a contract from various production companies in the 1930s based on her first performance. She would work with Hollywood elites and when starting off in movies, starring with Dolores Del Rio, who was a great actress from Mexico, and even made it big in Hollywood herself. That would would later mentor the young Rita Hayworth. They would star together actually in a movie called In Caliente in 1935, and made them both big actresses with Latin origin. Her success in the first two movies during the 1930s would make her well known in the acting community and would work in various genres such as westerns, dramas, action films, and even film noirs that will be popular later and even at the time. During this period of the late 1920s and early 1930s, Rita Hayworth managed to get become a star, a great star, um, in Hollywood, basically starting her new Hollywood career, whilst being a dancer and sometimes spending time on stage or in nightclubs based on her appearances. She would work with actresses that were elites of their time, and she would and could also play characters that were supporting in major film roles, then later becoming a lead. This meant she would need to work hard due to American actors or fully American actors would be the top billing, while she would be classed as a second class citizen in this ever changing climates of acting and even filmmaking. She even was able to star with other nationalities in smaller roles, later on becoming a international star that would be getting lead roles and even having um, her name, Rita Hayworth, up on the big billings of each picture, and even posters that were sent around the world. She would also work with these international stars as as she grew older. The Hollywood princess Rita Hayworth would excel in her acting career, and by being one of the greatest and biggest stars in Hollywood, and even taking part in the leading lady trend, and that would make her star excel and becoming one of the best, and even eventually becoming elite in Hollywood, to having a top billing on each film she was starring in. She co-starred with Cary Grant in the film Only Angels Have Wings in 1939, which was a major film that actually helped her launch her career and being one of the greatest actresses in Hollywood. Following from this film success, she could continue to star in major films with many known, and even well-known legendary actors or even actresses at the top of the time. In the 1940s, however, Rita Hayworth would star in more movies than usual, and even related to film noirs being typecast as a character for each of these films. Gilda in 1946 was one of the films that she was able to play a femme fatale typecasted character, and an icon in this decade based on working with both Glenn Ford, who was a great actor of his time, and even being able to be classed as one of the first Latin actresses or Latin origin actress to have top billing in the period of the 1940s and even in the early start of the cinema. She managed to promote herself in various organizations and even make time to promote her for movies to the United States Army during World War II, sometimes modeling for pin-ups for the Army and even other people around the world, then working in films orientated based on the war effort or towards the war effort in general. Then she would travel around the world in the same decade, the 1940s, working with other countries based on performing in movies in various international locations. She would break out of the film noir roles and work as a dancer again to becoming an action part of an action films that would star with the biggest and best Hollywood actors. This was based on her skills and being a dance legend of the stage. Hollywood classed her as being a princess of the silver screen, a princess that would be able to perform with great actors that even legends of the silver screen would love and adore to work with. She even was married and even had relations with royalty around the world, and even royalty in general, as she was married to a prince, even still occurring in films whilst she was a princess herself. Later on, she made more appearances in big budget movies, and then working with well known production companies in Hollywood, such as Columbia Pictures, which was one production company that would allow her to be a flagship actress to help promote their films. She finished the 1940s with again her typecasted character arc, which was the femme fatale character in movies such as The Lady from Shanghai in 1948 with actor Orson Welles, who was later her husband. The 1950s would have Rita Hayworth working in both television and film, but this time she would be older and even still traveling around the world, enjoying her performances on both television and film. She was able to choose her own roles and even choose the right roles she endured. One in particular role was able to perform her greatest in was in the film called Separate Tables in 1958, which was starring fellow actors and actresses such as Burt Lancaster, Deborah Kerr, and even David Nevin. Personal life and final years. Rita Hayworth was married at least 5 times in her life. Her first husband was Edward Judson, with their relationship lasting from 1937 to 1942. Second husband was Orson Welles, then their relationship lasted from 1943 to 1947. Third husband was Prince Ali Khan, and their relationship lasted from 1949 to 1953. Fourth husband was Dick Himes. From 1953 to 1955, their relationship lasted from. And her last husband was James Hill, and their relationship lasted from 1948 to 1961. She would have 2 children based on her relationships with Ali Khan. She would also have issues in her personal life based on alcohol and sometimes with her relationships with other stars as well as her husbands. She would work outside of Hollywood in various companies that would be able to promote her films in movies and even promote her self in books. She was able to take part in the Democratic Party within the United States and would be going to their rallies, but to make an appearance with the and even electing presidents or different presidents for the country of the United States. Working with as an activist later on in her life, whilst being a Hollywood actress, helped with fighting diseases and even taking care of people who had known diseases. She herself lived with Alzheimer's, so she was a big advocate to the Alzheimer's Association in her later life. And having Alzheimer's herself, she would still be remembered based on her selflessness before retiring, just to help out this to prevent the disease spreading even further to more people. She had spent time with President Franklin Roosevelt in his time of office and even being a leader of the United States. She helped his administration by showing that he was one of the best presidents that the United States ever had. She received many awards from the Academy Awards to the Golden Globes, and later classed herself as one of the greatest actresses of classic Hollywood. She continued to act in Hollywood during the 1960s to the 1970s, but then retired in the 1980s. Her last film was The Wrath of God in 1972. Legacy and death. Sadly, Rita Hayworth passed away on the 14th of May 1987 in New York City, USA. She suffered from Alzheimer's disease in her later life and had been able to support people with the same disease. She had support from many actors and actresses at the time, with the President Ronald Reagan helping her, even remembering her as one of the greatest, best actors, best stars of all time, and even to be part of the film industry himself, knowing that she was the most beautiful and the most prominent actress of all time. Her legacy lives on even till today, with her family becoming part of her honors after her death, and even being remembered for for her selflessness. Even raising money for research to cure people from Alzheimer's disease, which Rita Hayworth was able to work hard to stop during a time when she was older, a Hollywood actress, and even alive. With Rita Hayworth, she was able to try her best to stop the disease from spreading to people and having people having the disease already spreading to their brains and to everything that they do in their daily life. She is talked about in movies, songs, books, and even television around the world, being part of one of the greatest actresses who had ever lived. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't done so. My name is Suki Cookie, and I do have more content like this and have more Hollywood biographies coming up and even documentaries. So thank you for watching.